Hello everybody and welcome to phase 2 of the side-scrolling beatmap project. What we're going to do is break this down into two sections. Section 1, we're going to look at Spritebatch and how we can make it use layer depths and how we can use them to our advantage. And Section 2 is where we're going to make the actual level for our character to walk around in and make sure that the level takes advantage of layer depths. For now, let's move on to Section 1, Spritebatch and layer depths. Layer depths. What are layer depths? Well, it's a way of making things draw in any order that you'd like it to. Normally, let's say you had this picture here, you wanted to draw this. You had 3 box objects. 1, 2, and 3. And you needed them to draw each other in this order. You had to make it go 1, 2, 3. So what you do normally is say Spritebatch.draw, and then you draw number 1s, then number 2, then number 3, and then you'd call sb.end so it would shoot it off to the graphics card and actually draw it onto the screen for you. So you always, it had to have number 2 in the middle, but for some reason, let's say you weren't allowed to have it like this. You had to have number 2 drawn first. So it had to go draw box number 2, draw box number 1, draw box number 3. For some reason, number 2 had to be drawn on the first line of code, but you still needed it to be in the middle of the 3 objects. Well, that's where layer depths come in. When you're using the draw call, you can tell it exactly whereabouts, how far deep into the image to draw it. So let's open up a new Visual Studio project and take a look-see at how we can use them. So let's bring up Visual Studio, start off a new project, and call this one Example Layer Projects. Example Layer Depths, I should say. And let's load up the graphics we're going to need for this. So content, existing item. We're going to need circle and single pixel. You'll see why we need the circle pretty shortly. Texture 2D. SPR circle and texture 2D SPR single pixel. Hey, I typed it right. Nice. We need 3 positions. Object A pos and B and C. If we give them correct typing, they would go onto the correct spots on the line for us, which would have been nice. Fix it up in a second. Rectangle, draw area, and a mouse state called M state. We need the mouse state because we want object B to follow around the mouse, and it'll make it that little bit easier to show what we're going for. There we go. So let's load up our 2 textures in the load call, or load content. SPR circle equal to new, no, not new, content.load, texture 2D, at circle, circles with a capital C. Did it again. Go away, P. Rightio, so that's those. Let's set up our 3 positions. Object A pos. Equal, what is it? What do you mean? Whoops. Object B and object C. Equal to new vector 2. Let's say 150 and 150. Object B is going to be set by the update call and from the mouse position, so we don't need to set it here, but C we do. New vector 2, 350, 350. And our draw area, new rectangle, 0, 0, 150, 150. Well, that's not going to give them any overlap, is it? So let's change you to 3. It's 250. There we go. Down to our update call. We'll say mState equal to mouse.getState, and object bpos equal to new vector2 mState.x and mState.y. Done. That's everything we need in the update. So here we are at the draw call. Alright, in the draw call we want to say Spritebatch.begin, Spritebatch.end. Okay, let's draw our 3 objects. Spritebatch.draw SPR single pixel. Using overlay number 4, we can use a position, object A pos, draw area, color.green. Now let's use object B, object C, set up their colors, white and blue, and draw it. Now this is going to happen exactly with how you want it to, or what we expect. A will be drawn on the bottom, the white box, then the blue, and the white will be drawn in the middle of the two. And there's our little diagram. So let's close that. And let's change this. Well, let's look at this first. We said the problem was that we had to draw the middle one first. For some reason we just have to draw object B first. And we press play, that's going to give us the problem of that looks right until we move it, it's behind the green one, but it's not. It's supposed to be between the green and the blue. So closing that, how do we take care of that? Well, let's move this guy here back to where it was. And check out the begin call and how we can play around with it. Begin, we can use overload number 3, sprite blend mode. We'll set this one to alpha, we'll set it to none for now. We'll come back to it. Sprite sort mode is the key one, what we're after here. We're going to be looking at back to front and front to back. Let's use back to front. Deferred, immediate, and texture. We're going to ignore those, just focusing on that one and that one. Save state mode, none. Not going to be touching that one either. Okay, so down here to green, we need to actually go ahead and use the extra things on the side. So that's going to be 0 for rotation. Vector2.origin is vector2.0. Sprite effects.none, and layer depth. I know you can't see the full thing here, but that's really the key thing is just here. The sorting depth of the sprite between 0 front and 1 back. So we're going from back to front. So we're going to make sure our 1 is drawn first and our 0. Our values are going to, depending on the order that you've got of your layer depth values, is how it's going to draw it to the screen. You'll see that in just a moment here. When we say green, we're going to put him at 0.1f. 0.1f. That works. There we go. Let's copy this guy because it's typed up nicely. What's our error here? Doesn't match stuff. Next we've got a rotation. Got a texture, a position, a draw area, a color, a rotation, scale. An F. How does that work? That's better. I just looked at the scale. Whoopsie doosies. Copying that, let's copy these along here. So paste, and we'll move the entire layer row back twice, or 4 times even. And we'll put that there. Okay, let's change these values. So we want 0.1, 0.5, and 0.9. What's going to happen here? Let's press play and find out. Keeping in mind we've got our green one, then our white one, then our blue one. 0.1, 0.5, 0.9, back to front. Let's press play and see what these values will give us. Will it change anything? Well, our green one is being drawn on top of the blue one, but its draw call was first, and now our white one still fits in the middle, but it's on top of the blue one as well, even though they're drawn in the other direction. Let's close this and take a look-see. That was changed by the sprite sort mode. These values here determine on how everything will be drawn onto the screen. If we change this one to front to back, if I can type correctly, and we press play, 0.1, 0.5 and 0.9, their values are going to be swapped around, or not the values, but their draw order is going to be swapped around. If we press play now, our green one will be at the back, and our white one will still slit in the middle. What's cool about this is that now we don't have to worry about the draw order at all. We can cut the white one out, well, not the draw order, we don't have to worry about the order in which their draws are called, would be the correct way of saying that. So now we've got 0.5, 0.1 and 0.9. Our white one is drawn first according to the code, but if we press play, it's not drawn on the bottom, it's still drawn in the middle. And that's what layer depths are. They are very cool, very handy, and there are plenty of times when you want to use them, such as in our side-scrolling project. We're going to be using them quite a lot. Let's close out of this guy now, and let's take a look-see at what Sprite Blend mode does. As soon as this thing catches up with itself, go away. What happened? Game on. That was strange. Here we go. So let's change Sprite Blend mode. Let's leave it at none. Let's leave it at none. And our object B is going to be using SPR circle. And our draw area is set to null. So into Photoshop for a moment, let's look at what our circle picture is. And it's a grey circle with a completely transparent background. What we expect to happen here is to just be able to see the grey circle, and that's all. We shouldn't see any of this external area that is not circled, the transparent. But let's press play and see what does happen. We've still got our draw order set correctly, and we'll move on the circle now. Whoa, it's not quite what we expected there. It's ignoring all of the transparency. Now if we look at it, I wish I could keep it still and point at it with the mouse. In fact, let's set that up so we can. SPR circle, null, and play. Now I can point to it. Let's see, the top left of the white circle is the mouse pointer. So here's our circle as it should be. We've got our outside area is completely white, but the bits where the circle extends to the edge are still grey. And let's compare the two. You can see that's what there's happening. Let's go back into Photoshop and look at the texture itself. So let's pull some rulers out from there to there to there and there. It had a white outline around the circle, which was nice, but then on the bits here and here and here and here, they were also grey. And then the outside bits where there was nothing, it was completely white. That's just the way it handles PNGs and transparency. So normally you wouldn't want to go using a none when you had transparent objects or alphas to use. Let's change this guy here to alpha blend, and you'll see something which you're much more used to seeing. Which one was that I played with? You. It was green. SPR single pixel. Let's leave it at that and press play and see what happens. Now it's much more normally what you've got. Move them over each other. There's no weird alpha transparency going on there. It looks just like it should. So that's what alpha blend does. Now as for additive, we're going to leave that one out because that's something not covering in this one. Let's set you to alpha blend, changing our green one here to use SPR single pixel and draw area. So we've actually got something to draw, not a null empty rectangle. Pressing play. We've got the example just as we wanted it to happen. We're drawing our grey circle first in terms of the code of which line is drawn or should be drawn. Then we've got our green one and then the blue one, but they're still sorting themselves into the correct order that we would like them to display on the screen. And that sums it up, and that finishes off what we needed to cover here. So let's go ahead and on to section 2 and make an actual level for our character to walk around in. See you there, guys. Bye bye.